Another name is thrown in the hat in the race to replace Roy Blunt in the U.S. Senate. Also, one of the 4 states' largest food manufacturers announces a vaccine mandate.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Missouri Republican Congressman Billy Long announces his candidacy for U.S. Senate. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Zach Dodge. Long represents Missouri's 7th district, which includes both Joplin and Springfield. He'll be seeking the seat of retiring Senator Roy Blunt. He enters a field that includes Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt, former Governor Eric Greitens, Congresswoman Vicki Hartzler, and St. Louis lawyer Mark McCloskey. Numbers are in from Election Day yesterday as voters in parts of the area decide tax issues impacting schools, emergency services, and community improvements. We begin with a proposal to extend a quarter-cent sales tax in Joplin for 10 years. Voters said yes to that plan to pay for stormwater control and parks. Carthage voters also approved a use tax on purchases made online and from out-of-state vendors. And Jasper County voters approve an increase in the 911 tax. It will go up from 1/10% to 1/4%. There were several other elections in our area that took place yesterday, most involving tax proposals. You can find those results on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. One of the largest employers in the 4 states announces it's requiring vaccines for its U.S.-based workforce. Tyson Foods made the announcement yesterday. The company also announced it would give $200 to fully vaccinated team members. Just under half its U.S. workforce has been vaccinated, according to Tyson. Pittsburgh State University announces new COVID-19 mitigation measures. Prior to moving into residence halls, students will have to either submit proof of vaccination, show they've had the virus at some point since March, had a negative test within 72 hours of arrival, or be willing to take a COVID test when they arrive for move-in day. The university is encouraging everyone on campus to get vaccinated and will offer incentives to vaccinated students. Additionally, all faculty, staff, and students will be required to wear masks indoors regardless of vaccination status if social distancing is not possible. Kansas Attorney General Derek Schmitt wants to curb the power of Governor Laura Kelly and local officials to impose COVID-19 restrictions. Schmitt says he's asked the Kansas Supreme Court to keep in place a law that limits Kelly's power and local officials' authority, even though a Johnson County trial court judge struck it down last month. Schmitt is appealing the judge's ruling and wants the decision put on hold in the meantime. The Republican-controlled legislature enacted the law earlier this year to prevent Kelly from restricting businesses or imposing a statewide mask mandate. The Centers for Disease Control issue a new moratorium on evictions that will keep millions of people in their homes, at least temporarily. Skylar Henry has more details.
The CDC says a rush of evictions could hurt efforts to slow the coronavirus pandemic. So the agency issued a new 60-day moratorium on evictions until October 3rd. It covers areas with substantial and high levels of COVID-19 transmission. That's about 90% of the country. Missouri Congresswoman Cori Bush, who camped out on the steps of the U.S. Capitol protesting for an extension of the moratorium, called it a victory for families.
Children will be able to start school in the next few weeks and not have to worry about where they're going to sleep.
The extension gives state and local governments more time to distribute the more than $46 billion already set aside for renters.
We need governors and municipalities to get emergency rental assistance funds out. That is what the point of this moratorium is to buy time.
The White House had insisted, even as late as Monday of this week, that it didn't have the legal authority to extend the moratorium. But President Biden changed his mind after intense pressure from progressives in his own party.
I asked the CDC to go back and consider other options that may be available to them.
The president says he made the decision, even though he expects legal challenges to the new moratorium.
At a minimum, by the time it gets litigated, it will probably give some additional time while we're getting that $45 billion out to people who are, in fact, behind in the rent and don't have the money.
The Supreme Court ruled in June that the moratorium could stay in place temporarily. Skyler Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote that while he believes the CDC had exceeded its authority, he would allow it to remain in place for a few weeks, signaling he may join the other conservative justices in overturning any future moratoriums. And now Michael Hayslip joins us with our first look at the forecast.
I left you the door wide open, man. I thought you were going to go ahead and take the pot shot and see if
right.
I thought it was a casual Wednesday. No?
You know.
You're not going to do it?
No.
Well, the reason I'm wearing a golf shirt is because I had the chance to spend some time out at the Crawford County Fairgrounds today.
Nice.
We're going to bring you a couple interviews tomorrow on the KOAM Morning News and also the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. And one of the things, Zach, notoriously, and I know other fairgrounds, I know you're going to chime in on this, every time our county fair rolls around, it's the hottest days of the summer. Well, I tell you what, Crawford County is going to get off on the right foot beginning today. But by the time that thing wraps up on Saturday and Sunday, the heat is back. It's like the 4 State Farm Show. Remember the old joke about the 4 State Farm Show? Before we moved it inside, we could have scheduled that thing for December, and I swear 90s would have popped up some way, somehow. All right, here we go. Live look outside of Television City with the Skywatch Storm Tracker sitting, as our daily almanac goes, at 107 degrees. That record dates back to 2012. Now, for today, we're only going to be up into the mid-80s. That's why I say if you have the opportunity to get out and enjoy some afternoon activity, today is going to be the day because it's kind of twofold. Number one, the temperatures are not too bad. And number two, look at the jet stream. What that means is it's taking that haze and beginning to finally move it to the east. Our air quality much, much better than what we had yesterday or on Monday. Now, Zach, Saturday and Sunday, when the Crawford County Fair wraps up, hello, heat wave.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I'll talk a little bit more about those interviews and also, too, a little bit more about air quality when I see you in a bit.
Sounds good. Thanks, Michael. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at Noon, a U.S. Olympic swimmer feeling lucky getting to have a family member in Tokyo to cheer her on. And later, wildfires continue to rage in the West, the latest out of California's Dixie Fire. Topping Nation Watch, most athletes at the Tokyo Olympics have had to compete without the in-person support of their families as part of COVID-19 safety measures. But one Olympic swimmer from the United States is lucky enough to have her father there to cheer her on. Jamie Yukas explains from Tokyo.
800 freestyle relay. 40 in her first Olympic swim.
When Brooke 40 swam her leg of a key qualifying race for Team USA, she had a familiar face cheering her on in the stands.
Story. There he is.
Her dad, award-winning sports writer Pat 40.
I did violate media protocol. I did cheer in the press box.
So you didn't care about being an impartial journalist during this?
No, I really didn't.
He ran down from the stands right after my race. I was hoping he would be there, but I wasn't sure. So we walked through the mix zone after the race, and he was standing right there in his little interview stall. So that was cool to see him right away.
I feel incredibly fortunate. I get to at least see her face to face right after she's had the biggest competition of her life. So it's really cool.
I'm Brooke 40, and I'm a Tokyo Olympian.
A swimmer from an early age, Brooke long dreamed of making the Olympics, but faced a difficult journey to the Tokyo Games.
January, I tested positive for COVID and spent 2 weeks in quarantine in a room by myself. It was pretty hard physically and emotionally to get back on the horse after that. And pretty soon after that, I went to a long course meet in San Antonio. And yeah, halfway through my 400, I stopped swimming because I was having a panic attack. And I spent a while a week or so thinking that I did not want to go to Olympic trials anymore, and I definitely thought no. I was like, I've reached my limit and I don't really care that much anymore.
What was it like to see her have a panic attack?
That was awful. We knew she was struggling. We didn't know she was struggling that badly.
Despite the challenges, both mental and physical, Brooke was excited for the opportunity to compete for her country.
Just after having it briefly taken away there, I was like, okay, I'm glad that I can still go, and I do really want to go and compete at Olympic trials. And then things were going better after that.
And kept getting better. Last week, she won a silver medal as a member of the women's 4x200 meter freestyle relay team.
What's it like to see that silver medal around her neck?
It's awesome. It's kind of overwhelming.
Brooke adds that her dad has been a big part of her swimming career, attending about 99% of her meets growing up and driving her to countless practices. And now before we move on, let's go ahead and get Michael's mic turned on. He has a really interesting point to that last story.
I know the 40 family, and I first met Brooke when she was like 12, 13 years old.
Nice.
Brother by the name of Mitchell. It would have been great if I don't think Mitchell was there, but I'm so happy that her dad, who's such a fabulous sports writer, that he was able to be there. And folks, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not following the Olympics this year. I've just got other priorities in my life. And to find out that Brooke won a silver medal, that just made my afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
That was so cool.
It's super cool. And that's really cool that there's that local tie.
And the dad was able to be there.
Yeah, for sure. Super cool. So, go ahead and advance.
I'll do more wildfire stuff for you, too.
Okay.
Like, I got you.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and talk about the wildfires some whenever we come back to weather. So, you can go ahead and, stay in here with us, and we'll be right back.
A look at firefighters on the West Coast that continue to battle the blazes that are all along about 14, 15 states. This is the Dixie Fire in Northeast California. Some 15,000 people ordered to evacuate. Firefighters were able to save homes, but a red flag warning scheduled today through Thursday could create more dangerous conditions. And that's why I want to pick up where we left off, as far as we've been talking a lot about the haze that's developed outside here on the 4 states in just about any tower cam that we go to. Not a whole lot of cloud cover, but yet you can tell the sun's been filtered out each and every day. Live look outside of Television City gives you an exact example of what we've been experiencing. But I want to point out a couple things here. Number one, let's go to the jet stream. Yesterday, as that thing rolled through, just about right through us, if not to the west side, our air quality indicators were much, much worse than they are today. What we're seeing happen is the ridge of the jet stream is progressing to the east, and what it's doing is it's taking that downward swoop from the north that's grabbing all that particulate matter from those wildfires, and it's shifting it toward the Mississippi River. So what that means for us, our interactive map of air quality looks much, much better than what it did yesterday. As a matter of fact, we've even got a swath of southwest Missouri that's considered absolutely fine. And for the most part, that orange, that's now limited down to the southern portion of Oklahoma. May remember, yesterday, we had a fair amount of the 4 states that was encompassed in that orange area. So at least we're headed in the right direction. Our temperatures right now standing around the 80-degree mark. It's been very delightful outside. And the good thing is, not only are the temperatures great, but we've also talked about the increased risks for those of you that may have breathing conditions. That's not going to be a factor by tomorrow. What is going to be a factor as we progress through the week is going to be increased temperatures. So while we're into the mid-80s today, overnight lows only down into the high 60s with that haze remaining. As we shift into future track, one thing I've been kind of eyeballing here, Thursday morning, late Thursday morning, maybe I'll throw an umbrella in the old car. It's not widespread, it's nothing serious, but just kind of some come and go showers into the afternoon. A little bit earlier time period starting tomorrow than what we've had past couple of days. Then we can talk about heat, because as our air quality gets better, it is replaced by temperatures that are going to be up into the mid-90s. Real quick, Zach, I said earlier, we talked about the interviews at the Crawford County Fair. Tune in tomorrow morning. We're going to talk about Angels Among Us Cafe. It's back at the fair, 1 year removed from the pandemic.
Nice. Well, looking forward to that, and thank you very much, Michael. We take this time now to honor today's 4-state hero, Warrant Officer Jack Gustin. The Scammon, Kansas native served in the U.S. Army, and we are proud to salute Warrant Officer Jack Custon, our four-state hero. A popular food trend is getting the Mr. Food treatment today in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
How many times have you been to a restaurant and had a dish that was so good that you said to yourself, I wish I could figure out how to make this at home? Well, if you've ever said that about Asian-style lettuce wraps, which are super popular right now, you're in luck. That's right. We've created a copycat version that I know you're going to love. We start by sauteing some ground beef with chopped onion and a bit of salt and pepper. After it's browned, we add some hoisin sauce, soy sauce, sesame oil, chopped pickled ginger, and minced garlic. We let this simmer for a bit so all the flavors come together. And as for where you can find the Asian-inspired ingredients, just check out the ethnic section at your market. Now all that's left to do is spoon this onto a leaf of Bibb or leaf lettuce, top it with some grated carrot and shredded cucumber, along with your favorite Asian dipping sauce. And you're done! These taste super fresh, and they're right on trend with all those low-carb, high-protein diets. To get the recipe for our Asian lettuce wraps, all you need to do is head over to our website. I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a restaurant copycat way for you to say, ooh, it's so good. Isn't that delicious?
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Now here's a look at the four-state market.
We're already sitting in the low 80s, mid 80s is as hot as it's going to get. That haze is going to stick around for one more day, but remember, our air quality is improving each and every day. And I tell you what, as far as things going up in nature, that's what the thermometer is going to do. 92 by Friday, mid 90s. Like I said, just in time for the wrap up of some county fairs.
Right.
Of course.
Of course.
It's always hot for the county fairs.
Yeah.
Here's what's coming up at 5. The nation is in the 8th week of a severe blood shortage. Hospitals are having a hard time keeping up with demand and are having to delay surgeries and other procedures. We're going to meet a father who just had to postpone a major procedure. Plus, Pittsburgh schools lay out plans for the upcoming school year. We'll look at new changes for COVID procedures. And the Columbus, Kansas Superintendent of Schools talks about what's next for the district after voters passed a school bond. Hope you join us, KOAM News at 5.
And thank you very much for joining us here for the KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.